So what is the justification for there being evolved forms in Legends Arceus that are no longer there in Sinnoh? Like, what logic is that? Oh, it's the opposite of evolution. It has stopped evolving. It is actually regressed so that it can no longer evolve to that degree anymore. What fucking logic does that make? Because the main right. Let's just have a very quick talk about this. The reason I hate regional forms having different types is because that is not how evolution works. Or at least, that is not how evolution works in the way that it is presented in Pokemon. In reality, that is how evolution works. In reality, you have a species that adapts to its environment. So, for example, a bird that needs to break through nuts has a stronger beak bite than one that eats fruit. That is how evolution works in real life. In Pokemon, however, that is not how it works. In Pokemon, you have a species which is a particular elemental type. The elemental type is all defining for it. It is what it is. It defines what it is good at. It defines what it is bad at. The type is not defined by what it does. It is defined by its type. A Pikachu raised in captivity has exactly the same elemental type as one raised in the wild. So that's how you know that the types in Pokemon take precedence over everything else. So when you have a Pokemon that seemingly changes its type to adapt, it is flying directly in the face of all of the established lore for Pokemon evolution and types. Something that has been the core of Pokemon since it began. And especially when you have something like, and this is the example I always come to because I think it is the best example, Eevee. Because Eevee can evolve into lots of different Pokemon depending on how it evolves. But the point is, the only difference between Jolteon, Vaporeon, Flareon is the type. Again, showing that that is the most important defining part of their existence. So why is it that Eevee can become Flareon or Vaporeon, and that's two separate species, and yet you can have a Vulpix who is an ice type, and a Vulpix who is a fire type? How does that make logical sense with everything else that's been established in this series? So it does not work to have them change their type in different regions, because then they are no longer the same species of Pokemon. So going back to the real-world example, the bird with the nut-cracking beak, it is not the same animal as the one that eats fruit. They have diverged. They are no longer the same. So why is it that Pokemon lore says that these two things should not be the same? Real-life evolution says that these two things are not the same. And yet, because they were like, well, we kind of want to redesign Vulpix to be an ice type, so it's the same. It shatters the lore for me. I hate it that much, that it just makes it so that it no longer makes cohesive sense in any way. So, I don't care if they wanted to do varying designs. I don't care if they wanted to show how Pokemon adapt. That's not what you've been establishing for the last 20 years. So don't do it. Considering that a lot of Pokemon species are very close to each other, two of the same species with different types doesn't seem like a big stretch. Because the type is so fundamental a part of what Pokemon are, how they exist, how they're defined. Changing the type changes them. It's like saying, hey, monkeys and humans are very similar to each other. I mean, they're basically the same species, right? I mean, one's a bit hairier, but that's it, right? Well, no. There are 1,000 minute differences, which mean they are not in any way the same species. They may have a common ancestor, in the same with the Vulpix, in the same way as Vaporeon and Flareon, but they are not the same Pokemon. They're not the same species. They're not the same type. They are not the same. Well, that was my point, that monkeys was a suitable example because it is so glaring a difference between people and monkeys and different types. In a way, like the ones in Pokemon are bigger, like a bigger difference. A fire type and a water type. They are so fundamentally incompatible that in the entire history of Pokemon there has only been one fire-water type crossover, except where there is this diverging path of evolution like with Eevee. And I think Eevee is a special case. It seems to be some sort of unstable DNA type situation, but it's still a case of one common ancestor leading into two completely separate things, which are regarded as separate species. Anyway, sorry, I am going to move on now. Whew. You know, people tell me I overanalyze Pokemon and everything. But yeah, people say I overanalyze stuff, and at the same time, yeah, I kind of do, but, you know, why not? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't analyze Pokemon and other stuff to the same degree I do. I mean, Pokesims is for the fun of it, but, like, this is me seriously saying regional forms make zero sense in the canon that has been established. And I'm of the mind that whatever canon you want to establish, by all means. Like, if you want to have a world where vampires are made of diamond and sparkle, or Pokemon can be different types but be the same species, that's fine if that is the canon you establish. But if you establish something different and then change it, that's bad writing on your part. Whew, sorry, the ground type list was pretty much dominated by a rant about forms, but whew.